You get to move through the world being. So there's a lesson that I learned from Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. And it's the be, do, have lesson.
Yes.
So you be something, and in the being of it, you start doing some different things, and then you have the thing you say you want to manifest. But so many people have it opposite. So they're waiting to have something. And then when they have something, they can start doing some things.
And then they can be
and
something.
Then they can be the
right.
thing.
And that's the opposite.
And so the lesson in this also is to come from the being of it. So you be this thing, while you're doing this other thing. And then you start, attracting and bringing towards you some things that wouldn't have necessarily been attracted to you had you been waiting to have the thing.
Well, it's very liberating.
It is.
It's very liberating.
Description.
Right? Because it allows you to be in the space that you are, knowing that that space is temporary if you want it to be. So you get control. You have control of it.
Yeah, it does. It definitely gives you control and some liberation.
Because
when you're waiting, there's nothing transformative in the waiting. There's it's just kind of stagnation.
Right.
So we be, do, and have, and we talk about just managing some frustrations and how we can turn that around. And it's really more of a fun read, taking situations and how I took those situations and then teach the lesson from it.
Right. Yeah, because I think that, one of the reasons I do the show, so I think that in my thought process, I always thought I wanted to be in a space where I could help people get from that waiting to where they're trying to go, and understanding that the waiting is not necessarily just waiting, but it's building. And so you see it more as a time of building, so you're more positive about it versus seeing it as just waiting. I'm waiting to get that big break. I'm waiting to. No, you're building so that when you get to that big break, you're ready for it too.
Right. Well, there's a different energy in the waiting and building than there isn't, so energetically, you're not just sitting around, but you're actually, you're waiting for the thing to happen, but you're building on it. You're evolving, you're creating opportunity. So it's really, you're actually doing and being.
So that you can get to that space where your house is joyful.
Yes. The ultimate goal.
To live
in the joyful house.
In the joyful house.
This house.
Which is your person.
Yeah. You can't, no architect is gonna be able to change this if you aren't
ready for it.
Or if you're not the one that's doing the work.
That's true. That's very true. And that's another point, is that when you have a life coach, they're not going to do the work for you. They're going to help you get into a space where you can do the work for yourself. And there's credibility. It's not all this, lovey-flowy stuff that you and I are talking about all the time. It's going to be some work. You're going to have to put some work in, and there's going to be accountability.
Sure.
But that's something I think we all need is some level of accountability.
Absolutely. And you can be sure that your coach does not want to do the work for you. They have enough work to do on their own.
That's right. Coaching other people.
And just our own
and
selves.
Your own selves, right?
I mean, it's a work in progress and process. So your coach is definitely working on themselves, so they don't want to do your work.
So that's true, because we're always in a state of evolution.
We hope, yeah.
We should be.
There's a lot of people in a state of stagnation. And so, if you're not aware that there's choices to be made and that you don't have to stay in a sort of stagnated place, then you're somebody who actually wants to create evolution in your life. Then there is evolution, but not a lot of people don't. They're either just not that interested, or they're just not aware. And I call that there's a saying, unconscious incompetence. So they're not aware that they're not aware, and that's great. So then there's conscious incompetence, right? So you're aware that you're not but that's a great and powerful place to be. Then there's let's see if I get this right.
At least you're aware.
Yeah. And then there's unconscious competence where people are just, they have no idea what they're doing, but they're doing it right, and I hate those people. I'm like, oh. And then there's conscious competence, and that's what we want to be, right? We want to be consciously competent.
Right. We want to get to that space.
Yeah. Because it also feels good to know you're doing something right and getting it done, and be aware of your own personal evolution.
Right.
So
I love having you on the show. This is great. This, what you're talking about is really encapsulating a lot of what we do on a daily basis. We plan for this show and we get ready for it, and, we send out an invitation to our guests. And, when they come on the show, we ask them questions. And for me, I just want to get to a space where the listening audience get what they tuned in for. And I think we are accomplishing that today. They are getting what they tuned in for. Well, so I thank you for bringing your energy to this show, because it is wonderful. Really.
Thank God we have an audience that's in agreement with you. So
appreciative. Yes. Thank God for sound effects.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And so we asked for your contact information before, and I don't want it to feel redundant, but, I want to make sure that people have a way of, they're excited about listening to what you have to say, and they're inspired to do something now. I want them to make sure that they can get in contact with you and see if your energy matches.
Right. Yeah. It would be a cruel joke to have somebody listen in and be like, I got to, talk to that girl. Like, nope.
Right. Or nope. Where was that phone number? Right.
I missed it.
Right. What part was that in? Was part 1, part 2? Right.
That's right. That's right. Well, MichelleAkda.com is my website, and you can email me from there, or you can just email me at mishakda.com. It's MISHAKDA @gmail.com. Or you can find me on social media. Yes. I'm Michelle Akda pretty much
everywhere you go, right?
So far.
That's great.
Yeah, so.
You are listening to Lunch with the Finance Bunch. This is Miss Charlene, and you can listen in every Friday from noon to 1. You can also see us on YouTube. That way you get to choose what time you listen if you can't tune in from 12 to 1 on Fridays. And you can also listen to us at acceleratedраdio.com/ARP. We're there every Friday from noon to 1 o'clock. So, Michelle, it's wonderful having you on the show. I don't want to let you go. I want you to stay here with us always. Just come back as often as possible.
Well, we could certainly arrange that.
Definitely. Absolutely. I would like to have you back on again as we go, through, our building process. I would like to have you come back and share with us where you are and what you're doing, and give us the name of your book again, because I want everyone, and tell us where we can get that book at.
Well, you can get it on Amazon, or you can either download it to your Kindle, or just I'm on the back. Okay. And it's called A Waitress's Guide to Spirituality, Finding Meaning in the Menial. And it's just a great quick read for anybody who wants to figure out how to create some meaning right where they are, and not have to, accelerate into changing the world at that moment, right?
Right.
That's okay too.
Small bites.
Yeah.
Small bites.
So you can get that on Amazon and on my website as well. So there's
a link on your website
to take you right to it.
Okay. That's great. So another question I have for you is, when we talk about building wealth, since that's what this show is about, how important, and it may be redundant, but how important is it to have a coach to help you get from where you are to where you want to be? Because I firmly believe that in a lot of cases, it's a state of mind.
Absolutely. Well, money's energy. So to create more flow of energy, you want to keep that energetic flow open by surrounding yourself with a support system that's going to allow you to keep those channels of energy open. And when we're not in a daily practice about keeping our energy flowing, whether it's love energy, career energy, money energy, health and fitness energy, we often forget, and we get sort of caught up in our mind sort of has this default pattern. We default back into sort of lowest common denominator thinking. So I always say you can design your life, or you can you either design your life or you default. You design a life by design or default.
Right.
That's basically it. So So having a coach helps you keep in the design mode. It helps keep you in a practice of keeping energy open, in a practice of learning how to work with fear, in a practice of keeping your sense of deserving inspired. And we just have a hard time keeping that inspiration going
by ourselves
when we're not in some sort of mastermind, so to speak.
Right.
Napoleon Hill talks about the mastermind and,
That's right.
Think and Grow Rich, and how important that is. So really having a coach is kind of like being a part of a mastermind. So the two minds together are greater than the sum of its parts. So you want to be greater than just the sum of your parts. And you want to come together with people who are inspired and who are inspiring to you. And that's just something we have to always do if we're interested in it. If we're not, we're not. That's okay.
Right.
But if you're interested in growth, then you want to stay close to and be around inspired people and people who will inspire you.
Definitely.
So that's why coaching is so important.
Right.
And I like to think more globally, but definitely financially, it's very important.
Right. Well, true wealth is global. It has more than one component. Money is not everything. Certainly pays the bills and certainly can get us some of the things that we'd like to have, but it's not everything. Health is extremely important. Without your health, the wealth really means nothing. So there are several components to it, and love is definitely something that is a necessary component to the wealth. So, there are components. It's not one focused space. It's a complete sphere of spaces that should be filled, so that to me is success. That to me is wealth, is when you have the components and they're all firing.
Yeah.
Like in symmetry.
Yes. Working
right?
together.
They're all working together.
Absolutely. I was reading something today that Einstein had written a series of letters to his daughter. And I just saw it on Facebook today. It was one of the letters about the most important universal energy, which is love.
Right.
And as this, icon of a scientist, you wouldn't think that he was so focused on this idea of love. And he was saying that, don't let these letters get out until you think society is sort of evolved enough to understand this. And I love that. And I think that's the key to everything.
Right. And self-love is important, because if you don't start there, by getting the weeds out, right? Mm-hmm. And by planting the right seeds and being in the right garden, because who you're around is extremely important. So you want to make sure you're in the right garden. You're not in the garden with the weeds,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And to grow, we have to know. And so I hope everyone that's listening, I certainly am enjoying this. I'm certainly enjoying this. And I hope you will at least take a look at her website, check out the book. It's an easy read. It's not a, gigantic encyclopedia type book. It's like a very small book that I think has a big reward in it for you. So please check out the book. And the book is called what again?
A Waitress's Guide to Spirituality.
A Waitress's Guide to Spirituality.
Yeah. Finding meaning in the menial. So we want to find meaning wherever we go.
Wherever we go. Yeah, that's important, because you know what? You got to stop to smell the roses. You have to at every turn.
And drink some wine.
Yes, wine and roses. I like that.
Yes.
You are listening to Miss Charline, and this is Lunch with the Finance Bunch. And we are having this wonderful conversation with Michelle Akda. And she's a life coach, and I advise you to check her out. If you want to take your life from where it is to where you'd love for it to go, check her out. See if she can help you get there. What she did say is that if she can't help you get there, she can certainly point you in the right direction, be it her book, a friend, a colleague of hers, but someone can help you with the journey. And we all need a roadmap to success. And I think life coaching is one of those components that'll help us get there.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah. So in closing, because we are running out of time here, I'd just like to say again, I absolutely enjoyed this conversation. I wanted to continue. I want you to come back and see us again, Michelle. This has been very eye-opening, I know, for me, and I think the people around me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Charline. It's a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Money, 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 money.